Last week, everything I thought I knew about my marriage and my place in Jake's family came crashing down around me. To understand how we got here, I need to take you back to the beginning. I'm Mia, 32F, and I've been married to Jake, 35M, for 6 years now. We have a beautiful daughter, Lily, 4F, and until recently, I thought we had a pretty good life. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, raised by my free-spirited single mom. We didn't have much money, but we had love and creativity in spades. Mom was an artist, always encouraging me to express myself and follow my passions. When I was 18, I left our little town for the big city of Portland, eager to explore the world and find myself. Those first few years in Portland were a whirlwind. I worked various jobs to make ends meet: barista, bookstore clerk, art gallery assistant. But it was when I stumbled into the world of burlesque that I truly felt alive. I still remember my first show, the nerves, the excitement, the rush of empowerment as I stepped onto that stage. Burlesque became my outlet, my art form, my way of celebrating my body and my sexuality. For 5 years, I lived and breathed the burlesque scene. I performed under the stage name Ruby Sparkle, and I was good at it. I made friends, gained confidence, and even won a few local awards. It was during this time that I also discovered my passion for graphic design, taking classes at a community college between performances. Then, at a friend's wedding in 2015, I met Jake. He was different from the guys I usually dated, more clean-cut, with a steady job as a lawyer. But there was something about him that drew me in. Maybe it was the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his work, or how he listened intently when I described my performances. Whatever it was, we clicked. Our relationship moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were living together. Jake was supportive of my burlesque career, often sitting in the audience, beaming with pride. He said he loved my confidence, my creativity, my zest for life. When I expressed interest in pursuing graphic design full-time, he encouraged me to go for it. A year into our relationship, Jake proposed. It was then that I met his family for the first time. The Robertsons were different. Old money, conservative values, country club memberships. Jake's father, George, 62M, was a retired judge. His mother, Martha, 60F, was involved in various charity organizations. And then there was Jake's sister, Emma, 38F, a high-powered corporate lawyer with a perpetual look of disapproval on her face. From the moment I met them, I felt like an outsider. They were polite, but I could sense their reservations. Jake had told them I was a performer and a graphic designer, but we'd agreed to keep the specifics of my burlesque career under wraps, at least until they got to know me better. The wedding was a compromise, half bohemian, for me, half traditional, for them. I could tell Jake's family wasn't entirely pleased, but they put on happy faces for Jake's sake. After the wedding, we settled into married life. I transitioned to full-time graphic design work, and a year later, we welcomed Lily into the world. Motherhood changed things for me. I loved Lily fiercely and wanted to focus on her and my design career. So, I retired from burlesque. It was a bittersweet decision, but it felt right at the time. Jake supported me through it all, helping with late-night feedings and diaper changes while I worked on building my client base. For 4 years, we lived in a kind of bubble. We'd see Jake's family at holidays and occasional Sunday dinners, where I grit my teeth through thinly veiled criticisms about my parenting, my career, my clothes. Jake would usually change the subject or make excuses for them. "They just need time to get to know you," he'd say. I didn't push the issue because I knew how much his family meant to him. Which brings us to last week. Jake's sister, Emma, was hosting a family barbecue at her sprawling suburban home. These gatherings are always tense for me, but I go for Jake's sake and to let Lily spend time with her cousins. The day was going as well as could be expected. I was making small talk with Jake's aunt when Emma approached us. "Mia," she said, her tone sickly sweet, "I was just telling Mom about this great new dance fitness class I've been taking. Didn't you used to be a dancer?" I felt my stomach drop. I glanced at Jake, who was across the yard, deep in conversation with his father. Yes," I said cautiously. "I did dance for a while." Emma's eyes gleamed with something I couldn't quite place. "What kind of dancing did you do? Ballet? Jazz?" I took a deep breath. I could feel the eyes of several family members on me. In that moment, I made a split-second decision to be honest. Actually, I was a burlesque dancer. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma's eyes widened in mock surprise. "Burlesque? You mean like stripping?" "It's not exactly stripping," I tried to explain, my cheeks burning. "It's more of an art form, a performance of taking your clothes off," Emma interrupted, her voice dripping with disdain. She turned to her mother, who had wandered over during our conversation. "Mom, did you hear this? Jake married a stripper." Martha's face went pale. George, who had approached with Jake, started coughing on his beer. And Jake? Jake just stood there, silent. I can't believe this, Emma continued, her voice rising. Jake, how could you marry someone like that? And let her around your daughter? I felt like I'd been slapped. Excuse me? What does my past have to do with my ability to be a good wife or mother? The situation quickly spiraled out of control. Emma ranted about family values and moral decay. Martha looked like she was about to faint. George wouldn't even look at me. Other family members were whispering and staring. And through it all, Jake remained silent. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, told Lily we were leaving, and walked out. Jake followed us to the car, but he didn't say a word the entire drive home. When we got home and put Lily to bed, I confronted Jake about his silence. He said he was just shocked and didn't know how to react. But then he said something that broke my heart: maybe we shouldn't have told them. Some things are better left in the past. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man who had always supported me, who had said he loved my confidence, was now suggesting I should be ashamed of my past. We had a huge fight that night. I brought up all the times I'd bitten my tongue around his family, all the snide comments I'd endured. I accused him of being ashamed of me. He denied it, but his silence at the barbecue spoke volumes. It's been a week now, and things are still tense between us. Jake's family has been calling nonstop, leaving voicemails about how disappointed they are and they're worried about Lily's well-being. Jake has barely spoken to me, and when he does, it's to ask if I've considered apologizing to his family to smooth things over. I'm at a loss. I don't think I did anything wrong by being honest about my past. I'm not ashamed of who I am or what I've done. Burlesque was an important part of my life. It gave me confidence, helped me embrace my body, and introduced me to a community of strong, supportive women. It's part of what made me who I am today. But now I feel like my marriage and my place in this family are on shaky ground. Should I have lied? Should I apologize now just to keep the peace? Or should I stand my ground? I love Jake and Lily more than anything, but I also love and respect myself. I'm proud of my past and everything I've accomplished. I don't want to teach Lily that she should hide parts of herself to make others comfortable. At the same time, I'm scared. Jake's family is a huge part of his life. If they can't accept me, where does that leave our marriage? And what about Lily? I don't want her to lose relationships with her grandparents and aunt because of me. I never thought my past would come back to haunt me like this. I thought I had left Ruby Sparkle behind when I became a mom, but now I realize she's still a part of me. And I'm not sure I want to let her go. Any advice would be appreciated. How do I navigate this situation without losing myself or my family? Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. Your words helped me gain perspective and gave me the courage to stand my ground. After my last post, I spent a lot of time reflecting on my relationship with Jake and his family. I realized that this issue with my past was just the tip of the iceberg. For years, I'd been trying to fit myself into a mold to please Jake's family, and in the process, I'd lost a part of myself. I decided it was time for a long, honest conversation with Jake. One night, after we put Lily to bed, I sat him down and laid it all out. I told him how hurt I was by his silence at the barbecue and his suggestion that we should have hidden my past. I reminded him of the Jake I fell in love with, the one who used to sit front row at my performances, who loved my free spirit and creativity. At first, Jake was defensive. He talked about family expectations and how he'd worked hard to build his career and reputation. But as we talked more, he began to open up. He admitted that he'd always felt torn between his love for me and his desire to please his family. He confessed that he was afraid of losing his family's respect, afraid of jeopardizing his career, afraid of the judgment from his conservative colleagues. We talked for hours, dredging up years of unspoken tensions and fears. It was painful, but also cathartic. By the end of the night, we both felt drained but closer than we had in years. Jake promised to do better. He said he was proud of me and ashamed of how he'd acted. He suggested we invite his parents over to clear the air once and for all. The meeting with Jake's parents was tense, to say the least. Martha and George arrived looking uncomfortable, and for the first few minutes, we all just sat in awkward silence. Finally, Jake spoke up. He told his parents that he loved them, but that he wouldn't tolerate their treatment of me anymore. He talked about how my past as a burlesque dancer was part of who I am, and that it doesn't define my worth as a person, wife, or mother. I jumped in then, explaining more about burlesque, its history, its artistic elements, how it had empowered me. I showed them some of my old performance photos, the tamer ones, and some of the graphic design work I'd done for burlesque shows. I talked about how the confidence and creativity I gained from burlesque had made me a better mother to Lily. To my surprise, Martha seemed genuinely interested. She asked questions about the costumes and the music. George was quieter, but I could see him listening intently. The conversation wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments of tension, particularly when the topic of how this might affect Jake's career came up. But overall, it felt like a step in the right direction. At the end of the evening, Martha hugged me. It was a bit stiff, but it was a hug nonetheless. George shook my hand and said he had a lot to think about. They both asked to see Lily soon. I felt hopeful after that meeting, but I knew we weren't out of the woods yet. Emma was still a wild card. She refused to be part of our reconciliation attempts and had been spreading rumors about me to extended family members and family friends. A week after our meeting with his parents, Jake came home looking troubled. He'd had lunch with a colleague who'd heard rumors about me being a stripper. Apparently, Emma had been talking to some of the partners' wives at his firm. I was furious. It was one thing for Emma to judge me, but actively trying to harm Jake's career? That crossed the line. Jake and I agreed that he needed to confront Emma directly. The confrontation didn't go well. Emma refused to back down, insisting that she was just telling the truth and that Jake was choosing his shameless wife over his family's reputation. Jake lost his cool and told Emma that if she couldn't respect his wife, she was no longer welcome in our home. The fallout from that fight was intense. Emma doubled down on her smear campaign. Jake's parents, who had been slowly coming around, were now caught in the middle. They left a voicemail saying they needed more time to process everything. Despite all this external drama, Jake and I have actually grown closer through this ordeal. We've been communicating more openly and honestly than ever before. Jake has been making a real effort to show me how much he values and respects me. He even surprised me by buying tickets to a local burlesque show, saying he missed seeing that spark in my eyes when I talked about performing. As for Lily, we decided to be honest with her in an age-appropriate way. We explained that Mommy used to be a dancer, and that some people don't understand that kind of dancing. We emphasized that it's important to be true to yourself and to stand up for the people you love. Lily, in her innocence, just thought it was cool that Mommy used to dance on stage. It's not all sunshine and roses. There's still tension when we talk about his family, and I worry about the long-term effects this might have on our relationships with them. The situation with Jake's firm is also concerning. We're not sure yet how much damage Emma's rumors have done. But for now, I'm focusing on the positives. My husband is standing by me, our marriage feels stronger, and I haven't compromised who I am. I'm even considering taking a burlesque dance class, just for fun and to reconnect with that part of myself. I'll keep you updated if anything significant happens. Thanks again for all your support. It's been a challenging month, but I feel more like myself than I have in years. Update 2. It's been another 2 months, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I wish I could say everything worked out perfectly, but life is rarely that simple. After my last update, things were relatively quiet for a while. Jake's parents maintained their distance, but they were making small efforts, sending cards for Lily, making brief phone calls. Emma continued her smear campaign against me within the family and Jake's professional circles, but we were doing our best to ignore it and focus on our own little family. Jake stood firm in his support of me, which I appreciated immensely. We even started going to couples counseling to work through some of the issues that had come up during this whole ordeal. It was helping us communicate better and understand each other's perspectives. I had started taking that burlesque class I mentioned, and it felt amazing to reconnect with that part of myself. Jake came to watch my first recital, and seeing him in the audience, cheering me on like he used to, made me fall in love with him all over again. However, about 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Jake came home from work looking stressed and asked to talk. He told me that his law firm had been considering him for a partnership, but now they were having second thoughts. Apparently, word had gotten around about my past as a burlesque dancer, and some of the more conservative partners were concerned about the firm's image. I was shocked. I never thought my past would affect Jake's career like this. Jake assured me that he didn't blame me, but I could see the worry in his eyes. He's worked so hard for this opportunity, and the thought that I might be the reason he loses it was devastating. We spent the next few days trying to figure out what to do. Jake was adamant that he wouldn't ask me to lie or pretend to be someone I'm not. But I could see how much this partnership meant to him. It wasn't just about the money or the prestige, it was about recognition for years of hard work and dedication. After a lot of thought, I made a decision. I offered to talk to the partners myself, to explain my past and show them that I'm not the person they might be imagining. Jake was hesitant at first, worried about putting me in an uncomfortable position, but I insisted. If I could face down his family, I could face down a bunch of stuffy lawyers. So, last week, I met with the partners. I was nervous, but I channeled the confidence I used to feel on stage. I went in dressed professionally, but with a hint of my personal style, a vintage brooch that used to be part of one of my burlesque costumes. I explained my background in burlesque, emphasizing its artistic and historical aspects. I talked about how it had shaped me as a person, giving me confidence and creativity that I now use in my graphic design career and as a mother. I was honest about retiring from performing when Lily was born, but made it clear that I'm not ashamed of my past. To my surprise, most of the partners seemed impressed by my candor and confidence. One of them even admitted that they had misjudged the situation based on rumors and apologized for jumping to conclusions. I thought that would be the end of it, but then something unexpected happened. One of the female partners pulled me aside after the meeting. She said she was impressed by my presentation and asked if I'd be interested in helping with some of the firm's marketing materials. Apparently, they've been trying to update their image and appeal to a younger, more diverse clientele. I was floored. Not only had I potentially saved Jake's chance at partnership, but I might have landed myself a new client too. Jake was overjoyed when I told him how the meeting went. For the first time in months, I felt like things were really looking up. But of course, life is never that simple. Word of my meeting with the partners somehow got back to Jake's family. Emma, in particular, was furious. She accused me of flaunting my immorality and Jake of choosing his shameless wife over his family's reputation. Jake's parents, who had been slowly coming around, now seemed to be back on Emma's side. They left a voicemail saying they're disappointed in Jake's choices and that they need more time before they can see Lily again. So here we are. On one hand, Jake's career is back on track, and we might even have a new opportunity for me. On the other hand, the rift with his family seems bigger than ever. Jake and I are trying to stay positive. We're focusing on our little family and the good things in our life. But I'd be lying if I said it doesn't hurt to see how much Jake's family's rejection affects him. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know Jake and I will face it together. We've come too far and been through too much to let this break us. We're committed to being true to ourselves and each other, no matter what. As for me, I'm feeling more confident than ever in who I am. I'm a graphic designer, a former burlesque dancer, a wife, and a mother. All of these parts make me who I am, and I'm done apologizing for any of it. I'll update again if there are any major developments. Thank you all for your continued support and advice. It means more than you know. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I can hardly believe how much has changed. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. First, the good news: Jake got the partnership. His hard work, combined with the impression I made on the partners, paid off. We celebrated with a small dinner party at home, just the two of us and a few close friends. It was a beautiful evening, full of laughter and hope for the future. As for me, that meeting with the partners turned into a regular gig. I've been working on rebranding the law firm's image, and it's been incredibly fulfilling. It's amazing how my past as a burlesque performer has actually helped in this role. I understand the importance of presentation and making a strong first impression. The firm's marketing materials have received positive feedback, and I've even been approached by other local businesses for similar work. Now, for the more complicated part, Jake's family. The rift that started with the revelation of my past has been a roller coaster. Emma has continued her campaign against me, but her influence seems to be waning. Jake's parents, Martha and George, have been on a journey of their own. About 3 months ago, Martha reached out to me directly. She asked if we could meet for coffee, just the two of us. I was apprehensive, but I agreed. To my surprise, she came with an open mind and a lot of questions. She admitted that she had done some research on burlesque and realized there was more to it than she initially thought. We had a long, honest conversation. I shared stories from my performing days, showed her some of my costume sketches, and explained how burlesque had shaped me as a person. Martha listened attentively, and by the end of our meeting, she hugged me and apologized for her initial reaction. George took a bit longer to come around. He was worried about appearances and how this might affect Jake's career. But seeing Jake succeed at work and hearing from Martha about our conversation seemed to soften him. He called Jake about a month ago and asked if they could all come over for dinner. That dinner was tense at first, but as the evening progressed, the atmosphere lightened. George even cracked a joke about learning to dance at his age. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Emma, unfortunately, hasn't come around. She refused to be part of the reconciliation and has apparently told Jake's parents that they're betraying her by accepting me. It's sad, but Jake and I have accepted that we might never have a relationship with her. We're leaving the door open, but we're not holding our breath. As for Lily, she's thriving. We've continued to be honest with her in age-appropriate ways, and she's growing into a confident, open-minded little girl. She was overjoyed to see her grandparents again, and they doted on her like no time had passed. In an interesting twist, my burlesque past has opened up some unexpected doors. I was invited to give a talk at a local women's empowerment conference about body positivity and self-expression. It was nerve-wracking, but also incredibly rewarding. Jake sat in the front row, beaming with pride, just like he used to at my performances. Looking back on the past year, I'm amazed at how much we've been through. There were moments when I thought our marriage might not survive this, but we've come out stronger. Jake has shown me a level of support and love I never thought possible, and I fall in love with him more each day. I've learned that being true to yourself isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. I'm proud of my past, proud of who I am now, and excited for our future. Whatever challenges come our way, I know Jake and I can face them together. Here's to living authentically and surrounding ourselves with people who love us for who we truly are.